총회와 원불교 천지보훈회가 공동 주최하고 세계 원전안전해체학회 준비위원회의 주관으로 이 시대의 절박한 과제인 먼저 이 세미나를 위해서 참석해 주신 각국의 학자님들과 모든 분들께 진심으로 감사와 환영의 인사를 드립니다. 우리가 살고 있는 이 지구는 살아 숨쉬는 거대한 생명체입니다. 지구 생태계의 모든 물질은 서로 없어서는 살 수 없는 생명의 그물망을 형성하고 있습니다. 이 유산을 잘 지켜나갈 수 있도록 오늘 이 세미나가 세계 원전 안전해체학회 창립의 시발점이 되기를 진심으로 기원합니다. 아울러 관심을 갖고 참석해 주신 모든 분들에게 다시 한번 감사의 인사를 드립니다. 감사합니다.
일단 이 발표의 좌장은 서균열 교수님이시고요. 현재 이든스 공동준비위원장으로 계십니다. 물론 저 개인적으로는 서 교수님이 과연 적임자냐는 의문은 있어요. 항상 아시겠지만 성함이 이 한국 이름으로 이 균열이란 건 크랙이라든지 깨진다든지 이런 의미이기 때문에, 그러나 그렇기 때문에 더욱더 좋은 이 모임과 앞으로의 계획을 준비하실 것 같습니다. 이 서 교수님을 소개하겠습니다.
Good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, it's quite right in saying that my name is Crack. So I stay away from Korea Unit 1 or Western Unit 1 as far as I can. But today I just took my responsibility to be here. And as you could see, this is really the starting point. But I have a suggestion here, because it turns out to be the second anniversary of the Fukushima accident. Okay? So I propose to have at least 1 minute of silence in commemoration of those who passed away 2 years ago. Okay, so please, okay? And that's the starting point. As I said, this is going to be partitioned in 3 big portions. This morning, we'll be having a gala of distinct guest speakers. And they're moving forward to zeroing out nuclear power plants for the time being. So we'll be hearing their thinking about the future, and because the reason that we'll be looking at Germany as well as Japan, how they're moving forward. Luncheon, and then we'll be having at least another 3 speakers. I'll be starting off in the afternoon, and I'll be basically talking about how to close, to really seriously think about our exit strategy, because we need this exit strategy as far as nuclear power. Actually, Professor Bach has alluded to this funeral of the nuclear power plants, which is as important as we'll be moving on to first presentation in the morning session. Professor Kim Yeon-min is actually teaching industrial engineering in Ulsan University, and he'll be talking about some of the safety concerns relating to current status and prospectus, and actually pending issues, because our plants have been basically suffering from a series of mishappenings last year, not just Fukushima, but our own plants. So he'll be looking at those.
Good morning. I'm glad to be your first speaker. First of all, I would like to introduce a joke about nuclear power plant safety. Nuclear power plant, windmill, and the solar panel are at a party, and the nuclear plant is getting all the attraction from the hottest girls. Jealous, the windmill and the solar panel ask the nuclear power what his secret is. Naturally, the atomic power player says, well, Mr. Windmill, you are just spinning your wheels in place and blowing a lot of air, getting nowhere. And you miss the solar panel. You shock up all right and your locality is very flat. On the other hand, I am the bad boy. Every hardy loves. I'm dangerous. I'm toxic to the core. I'm hard to handle, and my charm is radioactive. The conditions of Far East Asia countries related to the nuclear problem are shortly described as dangerous China, blessed Japan, worrying South Korea, and reckless North Korea. Nuclear safety problem requires international cooperation of 4 countries. The population in South Korea as of this writing is over 50 million. The population density exceeds 500 persons per square kilometer, with 82.1% living in urban areas. The population in the US as of April 2010 was nearly 309 million, with a population density of 34 persons per square meter, with almost 80% living in urban areas. Currently, as January 2013, a total gross capacity of 20.7 GWE is installed in these 23 operating Korean nuclear power plants. Currently, as of January 2013, a total gross, nuclear power plant has supplied nearly 34% of electricity generation in 2012. The number of operating nuclear power plants is the first in the world, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. The percentage of nuclear power plants in electricity generation is the second in the world, immediately following 77.1% in France. The lifetime nuclear power plant safety management spans site approval, design, construction, operation, maintenance, decommissioning, and waste management. The state of the art on nuclear power plant safety will be described in the above order. There are 4 major sites for nuclear power plants.
German situation, but I must have one remark. We have 2 German lectures, and the first German lecture which comes from me is just the safety of nuclear power plants. The commissioning will come from my colleague Bremer. Okay, so to the situation in the general situation in Germany, our first nuclear power plant was constructed in the year 1961, and you know Germany has been 2 countries or 2 states. The East Germany operated first nuclear power plant in 1965. The last nuclear power plant which came into operation was in the year 1989, and most reactors are pressurized water reactors, similar as in Korea. Some others are boiling water reactors. They have been built by West German industry, but with licenses from American companies. And later the German companies developed their own design. They changed some materials, they changed some layout of the safety systems, and so there became specific German reactors. And looking to East Germany, the reactors have been delivered by the former Soviet Union, as it was common in all Eastern countries. So, all over the years in Germany, we had a total of 36 nuclear power plants in operation, but never at the same time, because some operated very shortly in the 1970s, Some operated for a long time. And before the year 2011, when the Fukushima accident happens, we had a final shutdown of 19 nuclear power plants. Some of those nuclear power plants have been very small, with just 15 megawatt power production. Some others have been as big as more than 600 megawatt power production. I include in this figure all nuclear power plants which had an electric turbine for generation. Some people count some of these nuclear power plants as research reactors because they had two purposes. But it's 19 which had been shut down, and that's a basis for the experience of decommissioning. As a follow-up of the Fukushima accident, the German government decided for a final shutdown of 8 nuclear power plants, which all have been big ones, from 900 megawatts up to 1400 megawatts power output. And Germany now has 9 operating nuclear power plants, and according to the atomic law, they have to be shut down between the year 2015 and the year 2022. The reasons for this shutdown have been different ones when you look for different nuclear power reactors. A lot of them are caused by safety problems. A good couple are caused by economic problems, but economic problems always means that the operator has decided it's too expensive to add more safety. So it has some connection with safety. And the political decisions in 2000 and 2011 in Germany, that where the government and the national parliament has decided to phase out and to shut down finally, because the majority of the population and the majority of the voters is against further operation of nuclear power plant.
참여불교 재단대 사무총장 정윤선입니다. 참여불교 재단대는 독일어로 부디스트 솔리다리티 레폼이라고 설명하면 되겠습니다. 아주 자세한 강연 감사했고요. 독일의 그런 정책 결정에 대해서 경화를 드립니다. 한 가지 궁금한 것은 두 가지인데요. 그렇게 내부적으로 독일에서 그런 정책 결정을 했을 때는 대외적으로는 어떤 결정을 했는가인데요. 다시 말해서 그 원전 수출 정책에 대한 어떤 결정 사항도 같이 있었는지 그것이 궁금하고요. 또 하나는 그 원전을 이제 2015년, 2020년 이후에 정부 셧다운 할 경우 대체 에너지 정책은 어느 정도 구체적으로 쓰여져 있는지 궁금합니다. 감사합니다.
To the first question, we have not so much a strong construction industry in Germany anymore. In the old times they constructed the reactors, but a lot of people retired from that business, and so we have one company, Areva, which is a French-German company, which supplies some parts and some construction for Finnish in Finland nuclear power plant and some others, but they will go out of the business. There's the other issue which is not solved in Germany is financing of nuclear power plants in some other countries when they ask for German money. So it's an ongoing discussion. But when there is a plan for giving money for construction of nuclear power plant in another country by the German government, then it's a strong discussion now, but it's not formally forbidden.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I also like to thank you for inviting us, giving us the opportunity to speak here in the course of this meeting. Thanks to Mr. Seiler for introducing to you safety issues and stress test. A couple of slides will be couple covering the same issues in my presentation. So I will go over a little bit much quicker since you already introduced to you all those points. This is the agenda of my presentation. First of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about who we are, the KIT, and the departments within KIT. I want to give you an overview of the current status of German NPPs and research reactors. Then I will get right into decommissioning, tell you about key points and options of decommissioning, the legal regulations, permit process, phases, methods, waste treatment, staff requirement, and costs. So we got a bunch of things to cover here in this presentation, but I think we will make it on time. And finally, I want to introduce to you our research in decommissioning at the KIT. And finally, there will be, of course, a conclusion. And I will show you our team. So first of all, KIT. What is KIT? KIT is the merger of the University of Karlsruhe and Karlsruhe Research Center. Both have merged in 2008, and due to this became one of the largest research centers in Germany. You see the castle of Karlsruhe. This is not our university facility. Unfortunately, we are right next to it. We have an annual budget of about 650 million euros available, and we have about 8,000 employees at KIT.
It's my fault. I'll be doing a much better job in coming June. There's going to be a real meeting in June 11th and 12th in Gyeongju at the time. So everybody should be coming back, every single one of you. And also, I forgot to mention some of the real VIPs, very important person, including but not restricted to, limited to a director general or actually president of the Korea, former president of the Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Company, Lee Jung-jae, and somebody else, and also a lot of VIPs from the other companies I forgot to mention. But again, it's never too late, and better late than never. You are all invited to a VIP dinner in front of Choge Temple, actually in Temple Stay. This is a very health food, well-being food, 100% pure Korean made. So you should be more than looking forward to the meal. Okay, so that's about it. And also again, I am in charge of responding to, Fukushima accident as far as this one is concerned. So we'll be looking at a little bit of brighter sunbright to go. Next one, please. Okay. Actually, as I said, back a little bit. It's a little high-tech and I'm probably struggling here. This kind of video clips that I'm trying to show to you has to do with the application of so-called cutting-edge information technology. And as I see it, this is, okay, it's okay. Actually, this is one step ahead, but I'll have to be adjusting myself. Actually, we're looking at the progression of an accident that took place 34 years ago in Fremont Island Unit 2, which we call TMI-2 or Srimat in Korean, okay? And that had to do with the, actually a little incident, okay, in the auxiliary building. Somehow water got in there, and if the water got in there, then the other valve was supposed to be open, but it was closed because somebody did the poor work of maintenance. He or she forgot to open it up again, so it didn't open up. So what happens? Now, the supply feed water got stopped. What happens? Then, steam generator gets overheated. Why? Because it needs feed water all the time, but it just stopped. Okay? But looks like he's also struggling. He's getting old. Anyway, you have to bear with me. Okay, now it's Chernobyl. Fine, no problem. Anyway, this is even more severe. So as far as Chernobyl is concerned, there was an explosion. Now comes the question. We kept telling you that the nuclear reactor never ever explodes. But then again, this exploded. So what is it? Okay, the truth of the matter is that the reactor itself did not explode. It simply got melted down. But actually there was a graphite material which was being utilized as a moderator, and that is very highly flammable. Okay, so when the temperature got higher, the graphite moderator caught fire, and then the containment. It was not containment. They called it confinement. It's very weak version of containment. It just exploded. So everybody's conception was that Chernobyl exploded. Yes, correct. But it was not the reactor. It was just a confinement building. And at the time, we kept telling them that we had much tougher containment. Very, very thick, like 1 meter thick or even 1 meter half centimeter, actually 50 centimeters thick. So it's very different, but...
So, at first I will say a few words about the general situation in China, about nuclear power program in China. And then, because my talk is just about safety, and then I have to mention some issues, some reactions in China and after Fukushima accident. Then my key point will be in the measures in China, how to improve the nuclear safety. And I go through 3 different points. From the technology point of view, the R&D, and from the human resource point of view, the education training, and it's very important is the international collaboration. And okay, at the end I will summarize my presentation. I think this picture you have also seen during this presentation of Professor Su. And now we have in China the nuclear power plant in the east coast, and very close to Korea. And maybe this is the reason, I said this morning, Professor Kim said, dangerous China. Maybe this means dangerous because all the nuclear power plant in the east coast is neighbor to Korea. And up to now, what we have is, I have to look at this. And what we have is, we have now 50 units in operation. It's not so much, and with 12 gigawatt electricity. And but we have 30 units under construction. This is today's situation. And this also before Fukushima. And anyhow, in China, nuclear will go on and will be further developed. And the reason is, I think maybe all of you knows, I summarize some points. At first, in China, we need more and more electricity.
Higher expertise. I'm just teasing. Just around. So we already are making good progress over here. I guess we have a time for a couple of quick questions from the floor. So everybody's welcome to join. Okay, sure. Looks like he's got some ear aid needed. So in the meantime, anybody can volunteer to ask any kind of question, please.
But I still doubt that, is there any other option for get energy source? Because when comparing it to Germany confirmed the decision to phase out nuclear power plant after the accident of Fukushima. They did it because they saw it was obvious that still vast major accident can happen even when it fulfills all requirements. So if Chinese government invests $10 billion into clean energy rather than nuclear power plant, can it be possible to get enough energy source? I'm just wondering your perspective.
The possibility is possible for hydropower is more or less up limit. We have the limitation. For other renewable energy, for wind energy or solar energy, and it takes a long time. I think in Germany, by 2050, we will cover 80% like this. And China needs also in the mid-term is energy resources. If we think in long term, let me see, for in 50 years, 100 years, if we can cover by renewable energy, I doubt this point. And also the renewable energy, I don't know how to explain. Many renewable energy, and the makers also the.
So today I'd like to talk about decommissioning of a nuclear power plant, because this events focusing on the decommissioning of the nuclear power plant. So I mainly talk about the Japanese experiences related to the decommissioning of the nuclear power plant. But also I use this chance to exchange the Fukushima accident and showing some biographs on this chance. So, nuclear power plant, as you know, you have 24, and in Japan we have 50 nuclear power plants in operation. And considering the nuclear power plant life cycles, the decommissioning is one of the key issues. Actually, I'm working on the decommissioning of the nuclear power plant for more than 10 years. Regarding I'm talking about later about the Atomic Energy Society's activities. So, to decommissioning, we have to dismantle the system with a high risk radioactive materials. Actually, after the 30 years or 40 years operation, many materials close to the nuclear core has been radioactivated. And also, sometimes some radioactive materials has been making a leakage during the operation, and that should be removed. Also, we have to control and dispose of high-risk radioactive waste. These radioactive materials are usually becoming a waste. Therefore, we have to take care. Safe disposal is very important for such kind of high-risk radioactive waste. And finally, we have to remove any risks related to the radioactive materials from the nuclear power plant itself. That is a final goal of decommissioning. That is, we call it a green field. And a safety concept, because decommissioning process is similar to the controlling, handling the nuclear radioactive materials. Therefore, safety concept and the decommissioning stage should be also the same with nuclear power plant operations.
That accident has a dramatic impact on the world's attitude to nuclear power generation. Requirement. So the Japanese Parliamentary Commission report summarized that MPP nuclear power plant personnel needs to be trained and motivated again, and that requirement must be tightened up. They need practice, so practice makes all the time perfect. And second thing is the engineer will devise a new method to protecting their plant from earthquake, tsunami, and so on. So many countries right now are asking to carry out that stress test. That's the dead point. But still public think that only future will tell how effective these methods are going to be. So I think what Fukushima accident is telling us, shift of paradigm towards of nuclear safety, from that ambiguous belief that reactor is safe enough to prevent from accident, to the concrete perception that reactor may not be safe, may be unsafe, unless safely managed and controlled. I think that this is the demanding, what Fukushima is demanding us to admit. Second thing, why do we consider that nuclear decommissioning? Of course, the nuclear power plant is very complicated and complex system. So I may not be able to that failure rate characteristic down to this simple, but generally, the failure rate characteristic of engineering system is just following the best curve. See, this is This is the lifetime. In the early stages, many actually instant breakdown can take place, but there's control. They get controllable and manageable. So once we fix early life failures, then failure rate will go down, and we're going to have a safe operation duration. But close at the end of life cycle, we're going to have increasing failure rate because of wearing out the failures. Lots of equipment and parts will be worn out. So due to that wear out, we probably have a higher failure rate here. Where we are, Gori number one, the Gori number one will be in this region. Can say, we're not sure that this Gori number one is in this region. And what happened? And what are we going to do here if our Gori number one is in this region? See, I think, current life extension policy of nuclear power plant, actually many Western countries, including Korea, we are taking that life extension policy, it's nuclear power plant is a very expensive one. So when we can operate that reactor, we operate. And we continue to operate to make energy and to make money. But may not be a good option to ensure nuclear safety, especially old plants, as we saw in the previous best curve. So instead, therefore, we need to prepare a safe nuclear decommissioning to ensure nuclear safety. If some old power plant is too old, we'd better start decommissioning instead of running the power plant more. As Professor and everybody mentioned, the failure and accident is kind of probable. We have some probability. So in order to reduce the probability, we'd better stop that old power plant. And actually.
So let me go to my talk. My talk is about the lifetime and aging of nuclear power plants. So maybe you are interested in how long is the lifetime of nuclear power plant. So, but we have no definitive value. For example, in USA, it was 40 years for initial licensing, but now they can be extended for up to 20 years in case of USA. So, but maybe you're also very interested in how we can determine the lifetime of nuclear power plants in practice. It's based on comparison in cost, for example, about the replacement of the nuclear power plants cost and also maintenance cost to update meet the safety criteria. And also we have to consider about the generating capacity of such kind of power plant and also your country. And we have to also consider public opinion. So we have to make this kind of comparison between existing power plants and the new power plants to be replaced and also other possible power resources. So this is how we can determine the lifetime. And about the aging, it's something like that. We have some system reliability. It's related to safety of the nuclear power plants. So if it's high, it's nice because we have a lot of safety margin. It's more safe. But of course, due to the aging problem, this kind of safety system reliability is getting a little bit degraded gradually. But if it's up to the more than the safety criteria, it's okay. But if it's close to the safety criteria, we have to make some maintenance. And then we can heighten such kind of safety of the nuclear power plants. So we are doing such kind of things in engineering. But of course, we don't know about exact situation of the nuclear power plant. It's not so easy to understand the situation of nuclear plants. So we have some error margin about the determination of the nuclear power plant situation. So material engineering people are trying to reduce this kind of error margin in the determination of nuclear power plants situation. And also we are trying to make better material to get more safe system. So regarding about the aging, this is about the IAEA safety standards report. They are saying that nuclear power plants experience two kinds of time-dependent changes. why the physical aging of structures, systems, and components. It's basically about the materials I'm working on. And other obsolescence of this kind of things, it's kind of more societal things, such kind of knowledge change or standard change or technology change. We have basically this kind of two things. And aging of nuclear plants is a little bit similar to aging of people. So actually aging is maybe not so good, but sometimes by aging we becomes more careful. So such kind of thing also happens in nuclear power plants. But basically aging is not so good. It's a little bit negative for nuclear power plants, basically. And to maintain plant safety during aging, it is very important to detect the aging effects of this kind of nuclear power plant systems, and also address associated reductions in safety margins, and then to take corrective action before loss of integrity of functional capability occurs. But to detect is very difficult, and also address such kind of reduction is also difficult, and actually also we are working on that. So I would like to pass about the obsolescence. It's about knowledge, standards, regulation, technology, regulation, but I would like to give you some example. So for example, if you bought an air conditioner about 10 years ago, and it's broken now, maybe you want to repair the air conditioner, but there is no parts to be repaired. So in that case, you cannot repair. So such kind of thing maybe can be happen in nuclear power plants. So to eliminate such kind of possibility, we have to prepare some parts in advance, for example, such kind of things. It's kind of obsolescence. And I'm very working on the more physical aging of the materials. So this is kind of material phenomena what happened during aging. But I don't want to go into very details about these things. But one thing very important one is radiation damage. It's characteristic for nuclear materials. So as the same with people are very weak to radiation. Also material is not so strong to radiation. So we have to consider what happened inside the material. So this is about actually, I just want to show you kind of example of the real work of ours. So this is the kind of material. If we look at very, very detailed, it becomes atom. So material is composed by atom. And if it gets some irradiation, they may sometimes have a vacancy. Vacancy is a kind of nothing here. This is the original. It's very ordered. But something is going out due to that radiation. And the other thing, the industrial, basically, it's another thing is coming here due to that radiation. So we are researching these kind of things. And this is kind of the...
잘 아시다시피 한수원 우리 원자력 발전소를 다 책임지고 있는 우리 유일한 기관입니다. 최근에 작년에 동안 1년 동안 준비를 했고 완전 해체 기술 로드맵을 최근에 회사로 확정을 했습니다. 아마 오늘 그 회의에서 여러 가지 그 디테일한 걸 많이 들으셨을 겁니다. 제가 중복되는 것도 있지만 가능한 빨리빨리 하도록 하겠습니다. 주로 해체 기술이 어떻게 되는지 우선 정보되면 제가 좀 설명드릴까 하고 수요 전망, 우리는 어떻게 로드맵을 준비하고 있는지 기대 효과 순으로 하겠습니다. 우선 해체 기술을 말씀드리면 그 연구 정지, 우리가 이제 연구 정지가 결정되면 연구 정지가 결정되면 금방 작업에 들어갈 수 있는 게 아닙니다. 핵연료, 후쿠시마 사고에서도 알겠지만 연료를 인출할 수 있어야 되는데 연료를 인출하려면 저희가 적어도 우리가 계산을 하면 5년 정도가 필요합니다. 왜냐하면 안전하게 다루고 또 그거를 물이 없어도 안전할 정도 되려면 5년 정도 됩니다. 그래서 기본적으로 5년 정도 기간이 필요하고 다른 준비들이 필요하면 6년 정도 후에 해체 작업이 들어갈 수 있다고 봅니다. 정상적이요. 저희 보면 우선 발전소를 정상 운전을 하지 않고 준비를 하려면 어느 위치에 방사선이 어떻게 축적되어 있는지 그거의 특성 또 해체도 이제 우리가 건설하는 것처럼 리버스 엔지니어입니다. 해체 계획서를 공정이나 디테일하게 짭니다. 그 비용은 얼마나 되는지. 그 과정을 인허가기관한테 허가를 받습니다. 그런 게 필요하고, 그 다음에 인출이나 이런 격리, 개통 격리나 또 안전관리, 방사선 기구 이런 저희가 필요합니다. 해체 작업에 들어가면 제형, 그게 묻어있는 방사선 물질을 없애는 거하고 또 아주 그 방사선 물질이 이렇게 많이 들어있는 리액트 베셀이나 이런 거 같은 커팅을 합니다. 커팅을 하는데 사람들이 가까이 못 가니까 예를 들면 로봇 테크놀로지라든지 물속에서 작업을 하는 거든지 그런 기술을 우리가 준비를 하게 됩니다. 그리고 해체 폐기물을 가능하면 줄여서 이렇게 처리하는 저희가 필요합니다. 그게 이제 해체 제형 과정을 저희가 7년에서 11년 정도 잡았고, 그 다음에 부지복원입니다. 아까 어느 분이 말씀하셨습니다. 여러 가지 단계가 부지복원. 그냥 완전 자연 상태로 똑같이 되돌리는 방법이 있고, 어떤 그 발전소를 다시 쓸 수 있게 하는 방법이 있고, 어떤 때는 그냥 거기는 버려버리는 방법이 있는데, 저희는 기본적으로 다시 부지복원을 자연 상태로 돌리는 것을 기본 목표로 하고 있습니다. 그래서 부지복원 단계, 네 번째 단계로 가 있습니다. 좀 많이 얘기했지만 정리해서 말씀드리면, 국외에서 지금 현재 100기 정도가 해체가 옛날에 그 실험하던 원형로 원전이 생기기 전에 여러 가지 리액터가 있고 실험로들이 있습니다. 100기가 정지한 상태로 돼 있고, 상용로는 그 중에 한 11기가 19기가 지금 해체 완료했습니다. 그래서 미국이나 아까 독일도 말씀하셨지만 독일이나 일본이나 이런 데는 해체 기술이 이미 다 세팅돼서 다 적용돼 있습니다. 우리 아까 김용수 교수님께서 말씀하셨지만 우리 트리가 그 완투가 지금 이승만 대통령 말기에 59년에 우리나라에 처음 공릉동에 도입해서 트리가마크 완투가 있는데 2호기를 먼저 해체를 다 했고요. 1호기는 좀 늦은 이유는 처음 들은 원자로니까 한번 이렇게 기념관으로 해놓자 이런 논란이 있었습니다. 그러다가 다시 해체 계획을 세워서 좀 해체 진행 중이고, 원하는 변환을 위해 KNF에서 우라늄 다루던 변환들을 지금 해체를 다 하려 한 경험이 있습니다. 저희가 이제 이렇게 보면 원자로나 이런 건 실제 우리도 해체를 했고, 좀 논란이 많이 있습니다. 지금 우리나라는 해체 기술도 전혀 없고 이런 있지만 실제 했고 진행되고 있고 그렇습니다. 물론 이제 스케일이 다릅니다. 그걸 보면 지금 기술은 주로 해체 어떤 단위 기술 위주로 원자력 연구소가 많이 개발을 했고, 또 연구자 중심으로 되어 있습니다. 근데 지금 저희도 이제 대형 원전이 얼마 안 있어. 아까 이제 예를 들면 6년, 7년, 10년 얘기했지만 대형 원전도 얼마간 준비해야 되겠다. 해체 수요가 증가되어 있는 상황입니다. 그래서 저희는 이런 단위 기술 작은 걸로 된 거를 종합 프렌트화하는 인티그레이션 기술이 필요하다고 생각하고 있습니다. 그래서 다시 말씀드리면 해체 기술이라는 거는 복합적입니다. 원전 발전소 기술이 복합적인 것처럼 방사선 관리, 시공, 기계, 화학, 제어 여러 분야들이 복합적으로 하는 종합 엔지니어링 기술이고, 또 이것만 독특한 게 아니라 타 분야에서 활용되어 있습니다. 그리고 특징적인 건 고방사선 극한 환경 기술이 있는 고난이들이 철거나 커팅이나 제형 기술이 필요하고, 이미 해체는 돼 있는데 우리나라 관점 볼 때는 우리나라 기술을 얼마나 할 거냐. 지금이라도 해체를 하라고 하면 아마 프로젝트를 공고해서 하면 외국 업체들이 와서도 할 수가 있거든요. 우리도 일부 기술을 또 방법이 여러 가지, 일부 기술을 외국 기술을 의존해서 할 수 있고 여러 가지 형태가 있습니다. 그래서 해체는 언제든지 할 수 있다는 말씀드렸습니다. 지금 해체는 누가 주로 하느냐, 이제 이걸 정부가 하느냐, 보통 사업자의 중요한, 이따 비용에 대해서 말씀드리겠습니다. 사업자가 주도해서 대부분 합니다. 영국의 같은 경우 이제 비용의 문제가 많이 있는데, 영국은 GCR이라고 특수한 원전이기 때문에 거기는 해체하는 한 100년 정도 걸립니다. 여기 보면. 그래서 영국은 100년 후에 민간한테 다 맡길 수 없기 때문에 국가가 인수해서 국가가 책임지고 있습니다. 그리고 스페인이나 이탈리아는 특수한 경우고요. 세계에도 해체 산업 관련 산업들이 많이 있습니다. 왜 있냐면 세계는 이제 무기 웨폰 무기나 이런 여러 가지 그런 것 때문에 제철이나 이런 것 때문에 폐기물을 다루는 업체들이 상당히 많이 있습니다. 그리고 해체 수요는 주로 30년대, 40년대 생길 예정이고 저희도 여러 가지 계속 논란이 되고 있지만 계속 운전을 해야 되느냐 말아야 되느냐 이런 거에 따라서 시기는 좀 변화될 수 있습니다. 로드맵을 저희가 좀 준비를 해봤는데 크게 말씀드리면 2017년까지는 표준 해체 기술 모델 어떤 공정을 할 건지 저희가 5년 내에 다 하고 요소 기술을 개발해 놓으려고 아까 제염, 해체, 커팅 뭐 이런 걸 국가적으로 추진하고 준비해 놓으려고 합니다. 그거를 2018년부터 22년까지는 사업에 적용하는 디테일하게 노형별로 어느 노형에 어떻게 할 건지를 준비해 놓으려고 하고 이 10년 내에 모든 거를 구축해 놓으려고 하는 계획을 갖고 있습니다. 이거는 우리 혼자 하는 게 아니고 한수원, 우리 설계기관, 또 전문기관, 여러 전문기관들이 하고 또 어떻게 보면 산업체, 시공사, 여기 오늘 시공사도 많이 왔겠지만 여러 업체들이 참여해서 하려고 합니다. 제가 언뜻 여기서 밑에서 말씀을 안 드리는데 해체 비용에 대해서 아마 관심이 많으실 겁니다. 지금 20년 우리가 해체 기준이 한 22년 기준으로 고려시 해체가 14조 원 전망된다. 이런 얘기가 있습니다. 제가 그거를 제가 저는 이제 유틸리티에서 왔기 때문에 조금 관심이 있을 것 같아서 경제성하고 비용에 대해서 간단히 좀 말씀드릴까 합니다.
In Korea. 우리 정부는 지금 원전해체 관련해서 오늘 이 자리에서 이제 원전해체를 바라보는 입장은 물론 안전성 측면에서만 접근을 한 것 같습니다. 그런데 저희 정부는 안전성 문제뿐만이 아니라 지속 가능성, 이 원자력 이용의 지속 가능성 측면에서도 이 원전 해체가 중요하다고 생각합니다. 이거 종합을 해보면 원전의 연구 정지 여부와는 별개로 이 원전 해체는 항상 무관하게 준비를 해야 될 필요가 있다라고 인식을 하고 있습니다. 우리 국내 상황을 보면은 80년대 초중반 집중적으로 원전이 건설되고 그 원전들이 집중적으로 해체될 것으로 예상되는 시기가 저희가 30년대에서 40년대로 자꾸 예상을 하고 있습니다. 그 시기에 엄청난 그 원전 해체 소요들이 나올 거기 때문에 이미 저희 정부 차원에서도 그동안 어떤 원전 해체 전략 수립을 위한 기초 자료를 수집을 해왔고, 그다음에 작년 11월 20일에 저희 총리 주재 원자력 진흥위원회라는 그 원자력 정책 결정기구가 있습니다. 그 결정기구에서 원자력 시설 해체 기반 핵심 기반 기술 계획이라는 것을 발표를 했는데요. 저희가 이제 약 10년간 약 1,500억 원을 들어서 선진국 수준의 원자력체 기술을 확보하겠다. 이때 말하는 원자력체 기술은 상용화된 기술이 아닌 그 오리지널 그런 기반 기술을 말하는 것입니다. 현재 지금 상황이 그렇고 지금 현재 더 속으로 들어가서는 저희 원자력체 정책과 관련해서는 특히 제도적인 측면에서는 그 규제 당국인 원자력 안전위원회에서 올해 원전해체의 전반적인 절차를 규정하기 위한 어떤 법제화를 추진 중인 걸로 이렇게 알고 있고요. 정책적인 수립을 위해서 아까 말씀드렸던 기초자료 수집의 일환으로 저희가 원전해체 경험국, 그리고 원전해체 경험국이라는 것은 원전이 영구정지된 원전이 있는 그런 국가들을 대상으로 해서 원전해체를 어떻게 실행하고 있는지 그런 부분에 대해서 해외 벤치마킹을 지금 별도로 용역을 줘서 소조사를 하고 있습니다. 그리고 아까 말씀드렸던 그 작년에 발표했던 그 기반기술 개발 계획 그 추진과 더불어서 병행을 해서 이 기반기술을 확보를 한 다음에 이 기반기술을 사업화 내지는 실용화하는 것도 중요하다고 생각하고 있습니다. 그래서 가칭 원전해체 실용화 R&D 로드맵 수립을 추진하고 있고요. 이를 위해서 지금 산업, 그 다음에 학계, 그 다음에 연구원, 이런 전문가들의 의견을 수렴하기 위해서 별도 TF를 구성해서 지금 회의를 추진하고 있습니다. 올해 이번 금년 중으로 이런 기술 개발 계획안이 나올 거고 또 원전 해체 기본 전략을 올해 말까지 이렇게 수립하도록 지금 여러 조사를 하고 있습니다. 여튼 오늘 이렇게 엄청 행사를 주최를 해주신 쪽에서도 그동안 이런 큰 원전 해체에 관련된 이런 큰 학회 모임 같은 거 이런 것들 좀 조져 있었었는데 이번 기회를 통해서 어떤 해외나 아니면 국내에서도 여러 가지 원전 해체에 관한 역량이라든가 기술이라든가 이런 것들을 서로 공유할 수 있는 자리가 많이 있었으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 고맙습니다. Thanks very much again.
강원대 사회학과 교수로서 2003년에 정년 퇴임했습니다. 먼저 제가 이제 질문 드리고 싶은 것은 원전 해체의 비용이 비싸냐 덜 비싸냐 이것에 앞서서 우리가 논리적으로 이 핵발전 문제를 생각할 적에 핵 에너지의 원전 그러니까 원자력으로서 우리가 전기를 생산하는 이 일이 과연 안전한가? 그리고 거기에서 우리가 이제 오늘 하루 종일 들었듯이 원전을 건설해서 가동시키는 과정에서 나타날 수 있는 여러 가지 사고 그런 것을 통해서 우리가 역사적으로 볼 때 과연 이 핵 에너지라는 것이 인간의 지금까지의 지적 그밖에 어떠한 능력을 통해서 과연 인간이 의도하는 그런 통제가 가능한가 그렇지 않은가 이걸 먼저 여러분 오늘 모이신 그 범위 안에서 명확한 해답을 좀 듣고 싶습니다.
우리가 앞으로 이 기술을 실질적으로 적용해가지고 그런 수요가 왔을 적에 그것을 적용할 수 있는 능력을 기르는데 경험이 있는 거하고 없는 거하고 어떤 차이가 있는지 좀 궁금합니다. 거기에 대해서 좀 알려주세요.
Anybody volunteers to entertain?
Because if you make a cheap calculation, then you say you calculate the construction of the plants which have been successful, which operated for 20, 40, 50 years, and you just count that, but you did not count the costs for the development of those parts of nuclear technology which never worked in a good shape. On the other hand, you have the question of what costs decommissioning. And my experience with the figures, I know the OECD figures, is every country makes pre-calculations. That's a good tool to do so. But experience from the real decommissioning project is sometimes